I used to think, up until actually quite recently, that self-awareness is basically everything. The only thing you need to become a better person in life and to grow and call yourself on your own shit and move forward and find healing, etc., etc., the cornerstone of that is self-awareness. Full stop. But I actually started watching Vanderpump Rules, and after watching this, and I love watching reality TV because I love observing human behavior and being an outsider, viewing the interactions between a group and then kind of analyzing the things that I've learned in therapy myself and about humanity and people and whatever. There was one person, which I'll talk about a bit later, that was super self-aware. However, this was not, things weren't working out. And I was like, shit, this is self-awareness, but wait, what's wrong here? Why is this self-awareness not a good thing? I thought self-awareness was the key to creating better people, etc., etc. Then I realized, wait, there's one missing ingredient. And if self-awareness doesn't go along with this one thing, self-awareness becomes this tool for entitlement, selfishness, manipulation, where a person might justify their behavior and control others and just leave everyone else feeling really gaslit and very shit about themselves. On the other side, if you are very self-aware but you don't have this ingredient, it can leave you drowning in your self-criticism, as if you're staring into this mirror that just reflects your flaws and you just realized what a shit person you are, but it doesn't allow any path forward for self-love and connection. And drum roll, the missing ingredient here is empathy. And this is not the first video where I've said that. The other one was just another topic. But self-awareness plus empathy together are the real keys to healing and living a lighter, more fulfilling life. And not only a lighter, more fulfilling life for yourself, but you become a better person to be around. People might want to be around you more if you are able to match these two things. Okay, so let's set this thing up. Imagine you're in a relationship with somebody who is incredibly self-aware. They see their patterns, they admit their flaws, and they even apologize. But something feels off, and you might have been in a relationship like this or a friendship like this before, where this person says all the right things, they own their actions, but their actions don't change after the apology. So it's like this person can see their mistakes and they can talk about it and own them, but it's as if they don't really care how those mistakes affect you. And that is self-awareness without empathy, because there's no real care for the person on the other side and how things affect them. And in one form, this person is basically looking in a mirror, seeing all their cracks, but they're refusing to fix them because they don't see what's the problem, because they might not think there's any problem with that. And instead, this person might demand that others just accept you as you are or accept me as I am, whatever, without actually considering how your cracks are impacting their lives, not only in the short term, but also in the long term. And now if we look at the other side, if you are someone with self-awareness without empathy and this is flipped on you, you might look in the mirror, see all your cracks and flaws, and you feel like the worst person in the world. You just feel overwhelmed, you're consumed by shame and by guilt, and you just believe you're broken and you're unfixable. Both paths of this are painful and they're isolating, because if you're the person just bashing everyone else, but everyone else just has to understand how you're feeling, then you will isolate yourself over time. People would not want to hang out with you. And also, if you constantly feel you're the worst person in the world, you might isolate yourself and you might just live with this pain of feeling like you're never enough and never worthy. So, how do we ensure that self-awareness helps us connect both with ourselves and with the people we love? Now, let's explore this with a few real-life examples. Here's an example of self-awareness without empathy. First one, Tony Stark, Iron Man. Tony Stark is a genius, but early in his journey, he is the perfect example of self-awareness without empathy, because he knows he's arrogant, he knows he's impulsive, and he's emotionally unavailable. But instead of using that awareness to grow, he leans into it and he just hurts the people around him with jokes and emotional distance, and he focuses constantly on being right instead of being kind. And here's the example that kind of birthed this topic, and that is Stassi from Vanderpump Rules. And this is not an attempt to bash Stassi at all. This is looking at her past self, and then we move forward, because that's what we do here. We know people can change, and I know a lot of people don't believe that, but okay. Back to the point. In the early seasons of Vanderpump Rules, Stassi exemplifies this self-awareness without empathy. She says it a million times. She knows she's demanding. She knows she's bossy or whatever, and she knows she's harsh, but she uses this awareness to justify her behavior, and her behavior is not healthy, especially in like season 2, I think. But anyway, season 1, let's focus on that one. And she constantly expects other people to cater to her needs, and her self-awareness becomes this weapon of control. And I think by the end of season 2, she has basically isolated herself and strained all her relationships. For example, Stacy lets Jax have it for being a shitty boyfriend and lying to her, but she cruelly dismisses the toxic dynamic that they both contribute to this relationship. She lashes out at her friends for their betrayals, and she uses cutting remarks and justifies it with, "This is just who I am. You just have to accept me for who I am." And then all these people just follow her, which is something that like completely just broke my brain anyway. And I was feeling like, am I the one going crazy here? I literally don't understand. And then obviously the season goes on and I realize it's not me. Anyway, when friends like Kristen try to express their feelings, Stassi redirects the conversation back to herself constantly, saying things like, "How do you not understand how hurt I am?" Stassi's relationships feels one-sided, with her emotions always prioritized. And maybe as I'm saying a lot of this, you might be thinking of a certain person, or you might be realizing something about yourself. So without empathy, Stassi's self-awareness isolates her. It becomes a justification for her behavior, and it's not a tool for connection and growth, which is ultimately what we want self-awareness to be. And to quickly link this to my own journey, I don't think I've ever been on that level necessarily. I've just never been the kind of person. I've rather been on the other side where I just feel I'm a shitty person and I'm so sorry for being alive, that kind of thing. But I know very early in my healing journey, when I just started going into intense therapy, I was so focused on understanding my own patterns, and I was just like healing through certain things where I knew, because I was constantly in my life just choosing other people, I knew that was a season where I had to choose myself. Looking back now, I know that I didn't always consider how my actions affected others. This is a nuanced topic because I believe there's a balance to strike, especially if you're the kind of person who has put other people's needs and wants and desires and whatever before your own for your whole life. I think there's a balance to strike, to be a little bit selfish for a season, but then coming back to like that middle ground to say, okay, I want to be self-aware, not only for myself and figuring out what are the things that I need, but I want to become self-aware to understand how my behaviors impacts others. So now let's look at the other side. Self-awareness with empathy. Again, we have two examples. So the first one is Ted Lasso. And Ted Lasso is such a cute example actually, because he is such a deeply self-aware person. He knows his strengths, he knows his flaws, but he pairs that with empathy. He tries to listen actively, shows compassion, and creates a safe space for others to grow as well. His self-awareness isn't just about him, it's a gift to everyone around him. And then here's where the Stassi story comes full circle. So there's a whole like journey here, but by season 4, Stassi returns, and she returns with humility. She, in the season, takes accountability and she goes on this apology tour, as they called it. She takes accountability, she genuinely apologizes. You even see tears at some point, and she acknowledges how her behavior in the past have hurt others. For example, she literally tells Katie at some point, like, "I wasn't a good friend, I only thought about my own feelings, and I didn't consider how I made you feel. I'm sorry." Like, that's such a beautiful apology. And earlier seasons, Stassi would have never said that. And her empathy then also extended to new friendships, because instead of judging Lala, she listens and she connects. Her self-awareness shifts from this like self-centered thing to more rational, gentle behavior where she allows herself to rebuild trust and deepen her connections. And her journey shows us how self-awareness without empathy, even if you are that person right now, how being intentional and growing your empathy muscle can transform self-awareness into this tool for healing and growth, both for yourself and for the people around you. To use an example also from my own life, so where I've learned to use self-awareness with more empathy, when I notice like defensiveness, especially when it comes to my husband, I would try to pause and then say, "I'm sorry, I just got defensive. That's not fair to you. Can you explain again? I want to listen and understand instead of assuming the worst." That happens a lot because I'm a very fiery person. So yeah, anyway. But it's good. It's good for us to constantly be able to pause and then redo situations, right? Plot twist. And I've just seen how doing this, like even just pausing and going back and saying, hey, wait, that wasn't fair, or that was wrong, or hey, that wasn't really kind. Stopping, pausing, being able to acknowledge that in that world of empathy, or with that empathy, it heals, it connects, and it grows relationships. So our last sip of water, or the last chapter. When we balance self-awareness with empathy, it's no longer just about looking in the mirror and seeing what's there. It's actually about stepping into someone else's shoes. And even if that means stepping into our own shoes, but from a kinder perspective. It softens self-criticism with compassion, and it turns understanding into action. It helps us forgive ourselves, have grace on ourselves, and also forgive and better understand others to foster deeper, more meaningful connections. From everything we've learned, we know that self-awareness is really, really powerful. Like, I've seen the transformation in my own life, but without empathy, it's just incomplete. It can isolate us or harm the people we care about, but with empathy, it becomes this bridge to healing and connection. And together, self-awareness and empathy create this foundation for true growth, true connection, and true transformation. So here's my challenge to you. The next time that you reflect on your behavior or you realize something about yourself, take it one step further. So ask yourself, ooh, okay, I realized this thing about myself that I don't really like. How can I show more compassion to myself? How can I be a kind outsider to myself? Or how can I be kinder to others in this thing that I've realized? Let's make self-awareness not just this tool for growing understanding and stopping there, but using it even further with empathy to become a path to connection and healing. So if this resonates with you, share your story in the comments. If you have a story about how you're balancing self-awareness with empathy, I'd love to hear your journey. Let's start a conversation in the chats. Quickly, if you don't know me, hi, I'm Stefanie. This is the Stefanie Lowe Show. I am a really anxious person and we talk about all things like healing, therapy, humanity, and behavior. And we also love trash TV. So if you're like any of the reality TV stuff, like hit me up and we can chat about it because I'm really excited about all of them. Anyway, also I have anxiety, I have bipolar type 2, and I have complex trauma. I drink a lot of meds, and all of those things come with a range of experiences and symptoms and stuff in your life, which I also try to address here because I'm super passionate about destigmatization of mental health, of things like therapy, etc., etc. And there's no room for shame or unkindness or disrespectfulness or anything here. And if I'm doing that, you're welcome to call me out. I'm very sensitive, so I might cry a little bit. But I want this to be an open space where we can all be honest with each other in kindness. Okay, bye.